There are fish that are genetically more related to you than they are to other fish.
It must have been 1999. I think that's when I first encountered this game. Even 25 years later, I've never gotten used to the Nintendo 64's lifespan starting in 1996, because up until 1999, I had never even heard of the system. Granted, I would have been like 3 when it came out and I couldn't read, but I can remember playing the family's Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis growing up. I remember being excited playing games like Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country 3, and Sonic the Hedgehog. I guess it just boggles my mind a bit that something as monumental as Super Mario 64 dropped and I have no recollection of its launch. Even if my ability to form and retain memories was barely there, I feel like I should remember something. Regardless, I had no idea that Super Mario 64 and the Nintendo 64 existed until 1999, and I know that's the year I experienced it. Because that's the year my family moved, and where we moved had this video rental store nearby. It's where we rented things, and that's how I first got to experience games like Super Smash Brothers, probably The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and of course, Super Mario 64. And that's how I know, without a shadow of a doubt, it was 1999 when I first played this game. It also could have been like 2000 or like 2001. I'm thinking early 2000s was when this happened. You know, despite making the first episode of Niche Appreciation Club about it, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is not one of my favorite games. Not even one of my favorite Zelda games. If I was to make like a list of all the Zelda games and rank them, personally, it'd be around the middle for me. As a kid, I loved it. I adored it as a kid. But when I became a curmudgeon of a teenager, I developed this opinion that this was a bad game, that it was a lousy game in the world. And this wasn't fueled by like any real feelings or basis or anything. I just wanted to be a contrarian, so I was spouting this thing with no real thought behind it, which I think was a truly lousy thing to do. To give that kid some credit, playing Ocarina of Time did bring me a lot less joy than it used to. He just had a weak reasoning for reaching his conclusion. And as I grew out of that phase of just whining about things, my thoughts on Ocarina of Time started to become more fully formed. Without getting too into the woods, I learned to appreciate how all the game mechanics were working, how there was this entire world to get soaked into, the fun in solving the puzzles, how to traverse dangerous situations, and this cuckoo lady, I like her. There's some weird characters in this game. There were still elements I didn't enjoy as much, such as the vastness of Hyrule Field being really boring. I still feel that way, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's a really cool set piece for that first time around, and it's not as much of an issue as I was making it out to be. Getting older, I've realized that sometimes I need to meet games halfway in order to enjoy what they're doing, and that realization has been very important, not just for video games, but for like art in general. It's been quite helpful in making me really engage with things more thoughtfully. Like, I think this game has a wonderful atmosphere that reminds me of the morning dew on the leaves before the day begins. Going from the cozy Kokiri Forest into the vast Hyrule Field is still one of my favorite feelings in a video game ever. It's a feeling of pure romance for a grand adventure. Makes me want to run into the field as fast as I can, eager for what lies ahead. With the power of time and life experiences, I have grown a more nuanced opinion when it comes to The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That despite the flaws, there are a lot of wonderful things about this game. So with the groundwork laid out, I also had similar shallow opinions about Super Mario 64, that it was a bad game, that it aged poorly, there was no fun, all that. But with Ocarina of Time, those views were challenged when I replayed the game, so I figured I just had to replay Super Mario 64, front to finish, see the thing for what it is and get a whole new perspective. Easier said than done, though, because I can't tell you how many times I've tried picking up this game only to put it down like an hour in. The bugs are everywhere. Jeez. Yeah, it's time to stop tap dancing around the thing. I just don't like Super Mario 64. Let me speed run you through how a typical playthrough goes for me. Start the game up and mess around with Mario's face, futz around the castle grounds for a bit before making a beeline on the Bob-Omb battlefield, grab the star by the chain chomp, then I go down the secret slide, tackle Thwomp's launchers, get a combination of stars from other levels until I have enough to take on Bowser, head to the basement, get the 8 red coins and leave the lava land, and then at some point my attention just starts to peter out and I put the game down. Those familiar with the game will know that I am putting down the game pretty early. This would be like if I put down a book halfway through the second chapter. Not really the best way to do it. That's like things haven't had a chance to get started, but I can't help it. When I'm playing Super Mario 64, I'm just not having fun. And I want to find out why that is. Like, this is a universally loved game all around the world. You'll have your contractors and your detractors and your protractors, but people love this game. They're still playing it for the first time and they're enjoying it. This is a game that has so many fans and so many people celebrate it. So what is it that I'm not getting? Let's break down that typical playthrough from before. When turning on the game, the first thing the player sees is Mario greeting them. Outstanding way to start an adventure. Stretching and pulling Mario's face. I know it's there to show off what the Nintendo 64 can do as like a machine, but it's still such a goofy and fun way for Mario to introduce himself. After that funny little moment, we receive a letter from Peach, formerly known as Princess Toadstool. Quick detour here, but I really like that this letter is signed with both Princess Toadstool and Peach. Because in the US, that was her name at first, Princess Toadstool. I don't know why they felt the need to change her name, but growing up as a kid, that's what I knew her as, Princess Toadstool. Honestly, kind of a cute name. And I get that her name in Japan was always Peach, and I get why they changed it just to be Peach from now on, but I like that this proper Mario game acknowledged the fact that her name was Princess Toadstool. It's kind of similar to what Sonic Adventure would do with Dr. Robotnik and Eggman, that whole naming thing, but that's a game for a different day. I just wanted to point out that I've always loved this little detail. Anyways, Mario jumps out of the pipe, and now that the game is actually properly starting off, can I just say real quick, I love the first area, the castle grounds. This is fantastic. There's no music here outside of the sound of some birds chirping. These vibrant green hills with the funny looking trees and this lake leading to the middle of nowhere. The odd door in the moat. This tiny little bridge. That's cute. And the grand Peach's castle as a centerpiece for the whole thing. It's immaculate. People always talk about how great the area is for introducing the player to how Mario handles, and yeah, there's a lot of room to mess around with the controls and lots of hills to see how Mario slides alone. Love climbing on top of these trees and vaulting off the top of them. But I don't see the atmosphere getting enough credit. It's all very calm with the pleasant colors and minimal sounds besides some chirps from the birds and Mario's feet tapping against the ground with the occasional joyful sound from Mario himself. I guess what I'm saying is that this is like a really nice park, and I would like to go to this really nice park. Fun fact, the best part of Mario Kart 64 is on Royal Raceway, there's a detour the player can take and go to the castle grounds. Less fun fact, the worst part of Mario Kart 8 is that its version lacks this fun little detail. Done. After Lakitu explains what a camera is, a fun way of explaining a camera system by the way, heading into Peach's castle proper is a stunning moment. Bowser tells Mario to scram. Love that, but the castle lobby itself makes a great first impression. The whole place feels very dreamlike with this large sun carpet in the center and then all these doors with like stars and numbers on them. And those walls painted with clouds seem so playful for what's supposed to be like, you know, a castle. So there's all of that, but most of the doors lead to little rooms that contain like a single painting or like copies of the same painting, and none of the rooms have the same layout, making this look like some bizarre art exhibit that got to lease the place out and it's just repurposing the rooms to act as like showcases. Not all doors lead into these little galleries though. This one leads to a basement with a courtyard in the back, and this one is a strange little room with stained glass windows, and I can't even open this door yet. And starting off, the player can't enter most of the rooms anyways. The only one is this one right here with no numbers. That's the only door that'll open when Mario tries to open it. I don't know how the game is communicating this either, but I get the primal urge to jump into that painting, maybe because it's like this square in the room, but jumping into the painting is the right move because jumping into a painting is what takes Mario into another world to explore. That's what I mean by dreamlike. This whole game feels like I'm describing a dream I had or something to someone, you know? Like the whole game has that energy. It's fantastic. The first level is Bomb on the Battlefield, being the first one available to the player. It's got a straightforward design. There's like no pits to fall in. It's just wide range. And the first star it expects the player to get is the one on top of the mountain. There's this whole big fight with King Bomb to get it. Great stuff, honestly. You just chuck them around. But I like not doing that. Instead, releasing this wild beast so I can get the... I hit my water bottle. Could have been bad. Instead, releasing this wild beast so I can grab the star inside this cage instead. It's fun. I get my stuff right. Stars, by the way, are how you make progress in this game. Mario doesn't have access to the entire castle or levels at the start, only the lobby and really what's accessible through the first floor. Getting enough stars allows the player to unlock more areas of the castle which contain more levels. Every level has 7 different stars, each star has a different objective, and the player has the ability to pick and choose which ones they want to get and which ones they don't want to deal with. There are a total of 120 stars in the game, but the player only needs 70 in order to reach the end. Outside of the 3 mandatory Bowser levels, Super Mario 64 gives the player the wiggle room to do what they want to do with the game, and that's cool. Fantastic even. After getting the star, I head over to that weird room with the stained glass windows and toss Mario into this one, which leads to a secret level. Slide, a level that's described in the name, also features the best track in the game. The frantic energy of the song matches the frantic energy of going down a slide perfectly. Going down this thing is a blast with how kinetic it is, but what a strange location. This strange void space with these weird towers. What are they doing here? What is this place? Why is it behind a stained glass window? Why is the only thing here this slide? What are these these arches? I'm losing it. What is this room at the end attached to? Is it just floating in space? Where am I? Moving on, Thwomp's Fortress. Whereas Bomb on Battlefield was wide open, Thwomp's Fortress is smaller and more vertical with an endless sky to fall into below. Platforming-wise, there's nothing too demanding yet, but the risk of falling is a nice natural escalation in difficulty. By the way, again, I love this little park area at the start of the level. What can I say? I'm a sucker for the Despite being high up in the sky, I feel like I have a very nice time just laying down the grass, taking it easy for a while, if I happen to be here. Anyways, scale the fortress and beat up this guy. And grab that star and move on to the next level. Would you like to see my favorite room in the castle? It's this room on the right leading to level Jolly Roger Bay. It's a water level. I doubt anyone would care for this level if not for the music, also the eel, but most of the music. The level is just mostly a lot of slow swimming, but when paired up with this song, I know I said the Secret Slide level had the best music, but I was mistaken. This is easily the best song in the game. But I don't want to talk about the level. I want to talk about the room before the level. This odd, aquarium space. It's got a calming blue hue, and the only light source are from these illuminated aquariums. They even got fish swimming around, and sometimes I'll just watch them move back and forth for a moment in time. I wonder what they're thinking about. There's something really soothing about this room in the castle that I've never been able to get off my brain. There's also another secret level in this room. On the back wall, there's 2 little holes in the wall. One has a green mushroom, and the other leads to the secret level. This large and completely submerged square room with windows that peer out into another endless sky. It's something else. The visual imagery of it is outstanding. At some point I get 8 stars, which is enough to take on the first Bowser stage. It's a lot more linear and more obstacle course based than the rest of the levels, but it makes for a fun change of pace. I actually really dig the Bowser stages, and I wish there were a few more of them, these abstract jungle gyms to tackle. They're a lot of fun. Don't dig the fight with Bowser at the end though. Grabbing him by the tail and swinging him around, very satisfying. He just picks up so much momentum. It's the tossing of Bowser that I don't like. The only way to damage him in these fights is to toss him into one of those bombs. I can never get the timing right of when to release him so he lands on a bomb. So what this fight ends up being for me is me just having to run around Bowser until I get a chance to grab him, swing around, and just hope that he hits something.
This takes me more attempts than I'd like.
After that, I get a key and can take on another part of the castle. In a fake out, it's not the first locked door the player sees that the key opens, but it is in fact the locked door in the basement. It's a partially flooded place with this rabbit called Nips running around that's tricky to catch, but also never showed up when I was recording footage for this video. Very in character of him. Lethal Lava Land, the painting for it. Instead of being in its own little room, it's just slapped down here in the basement. But it feels like that this is where it belongs, like this dank basement is in fact the place it calls home. Lethal Lava Land, Lethal Lava Land, god dang. Lethal Lava Land has a few easy stars to get, such as these 8 red coins and pushing the bullies into the lava. They're supposed to be easy. I usually don't, but in general, I don't particularly like playing it. Slipping into the lava has Mario bounce around, which is funny, but usually one wrong move is all it takes for me to get kicked out of the level. I also don't care for shifting sand land either. The level that's just to the left of Lethal Lava Land. Really cool how it's hidden behind this fake dead end though. There's these monoliths that Mario for some reason can just scale as if he were a goat, and these goofy looking black guys, and this one really funny black guy, a little bit of a wise guy if I can be honest with you. But this level's mostly the pits. I find the quicksand really annoying to fall in, and I always end up falling into it. And I never really feel like it's my fault when it happens. Just like in Lethal Lava Land, I somehow always end up falling into the stuff that damages Mario or just ends the level. And I mean, it is my fault, and I recognize that, I do. But a big element of Super Mario 64 and me not getting along is that I have never, ever been able to click with how Mario controls in this game. Which feels like a controversial thing to say, so let me say right off the bat, this is a wonderful moveset. Mario has a lot of tools here for him to use, and that's great. It's just never clicked for me. I always feel like I'm kind of fighting with Mario to get him where I want to go. Like the side somersault move, just feels like I'm chucking him into the vague direction. Fun move, but I don't feel like I have any control over it. But I've heard people applaud how Mario is an absolute delight to operate in this game. That Mario's moveset is the very thing that makes Super Mario 64 one of the all-time greats. The amount of options a player is able to pick from in order to move around is what makes this game so fun. I see that. I'm not totally oblivious here. I have a lot of fun pulling off long jumps with the plumber, and the side somersault thing is just a lot of fun to fling Mario around with. But trying to go into a long jump followed by a side somersault into a wall jump in order to get somewhere, and never been able to do that in this game. So instead of feeling like I'm a kid on the jungle gym on a sugar high racing his way through the whole thing, I instead feel like an old man uncomfortably stepping around a messy house that has junk laying around everywhere, and I'm doing my best not to step on anything in order to get to the other side. And I recognize that this is a skill issue, that if I put more time and practice into it, that I could get better at this game. And I have tried. I have sincerely tried. It has never worked. We have never been able to see eye to eye. If I was to try to nail it down, I think Mario's a bit slippier than I'd want him to be. And 2, maybe he's a bit more unresponsive than I'd like. And 3, this is a tiny thing, but it annoys me. When you turn Mario around, he doesn't always turn around like how you'd want. Here, let me show you real quick. See, sometimes when Mario turns around, he doesn't turn around like this, just turning in where he's standing and around. That's ideal. Sometimes he does it like this, like he'll make a full U-shaped turn. And that's really bad on like small platforms like this, for example. If I need to turn around or adjust myself or something, instead of just turning, instead he'll do like this and walk off the platform. It's annoying, it's horrible. It's a tiny thing, but it happens all the time. I know why it does it. If Mario is running, he'll do a full turn immediately, like a full 180. But if you're walking or standing, it's a big turn. It's annoying, gets in the way. I also just don't like most of the levels in this game. I don't care for Big Boo's Haunt or Hazy Maze Cave. Both of these places leave me feeling lost in a frustrating way that makes me feel like they're wasting my time. Dire Docks hardly exists for me outside of getting to the next Bowser level. I forgot to mention another level from the first floor, Cool Mountain. I do kind of like this stage. It's got another slide for Mario to go down, and I can even race against a penguin. Should have got footage of that. And I get to bring this baby penguin to its mama, and I think that's really sweet. I like that. Apparently you can throw the baby off the edge. I don't know why anyone would do that. No judgment, mild judgment. I don't get it. Why would you do that? But outside of those few stars, there isn't much I enjoy about this level. I like winter. I like the little cabin at the start, but I don't care for this level. It's better than the other winter-themed level though, Snowman's Land. That's located on the upper floors. That one's got this annoying giant snowman that blows Mario off. He's just slightly not lined up behind this penguin. And I do mean slightly. I know I didn't get slightly in the footage, but I promise you, it can be slightly. And Mario's hat goes flying off, and without it, Mario takes extra damage on hurt, so it's gotta be tracked down, and then you gotta go all the way up the whole thing again. Wet Dry World has a cool gimmick with the changing water levels, but Wet Dry World has a cool gimmick with the water level changing thing, but I find the level kind of boring, and Tall Mountain is even more boring. Despite the giant mushrooms, boring level. Tiny Huge Island has a really fun gimmick with being big or small, but it's also got some obnoxious stuff, such as this fireball that always sends Mario into a panic, dashing off the edge into the abyss. Tick-Tock Clock and Rainbow Road are the they leave me so annoyed and exhausted after playing them. They're these long and tedious obstacle courses that, due to being more linear, make for very repetitive. They make for very repetitive levels to play when getting stars, because when Mario gets a star, he doesn't stay in the level, but instead has to start it over again. So these levels are just this constant replaying of the starting point over and over and over again. This is why I lose interest in the game. I get frustrated with controlling Mario, and I don't like what's going on in most of the levels. So I have an idea. How about I just don't play the levels in the basement? I don't like most of them anyways, so I'll just ignore them. I can do that with this game. I don't have to get every star. I just gotta get 70. So I'll just stick to the first floor for the most part. I'll still go for those easy stars in the basement that I like to get, but out of that, I'll just stay on the first floor. I'll even ignore most of the upper floor. I'll get a few stars up there, but I'll just not play most of the levels I don't like. Now, things might get a bit samey since I'm playing the same levels over and over again, but I think I'll be having a better time because I won't be getting annoyed or bored or frustrated. I think this is the idea. So I'm gonna turn on the Nintendo 64. Right. There's no TV connected to this. There's not even any electricity out here. I couldn't play this out here even if I wanted to. It's also really hot. But, yeah, this isn't plugged into anything. Thankfully, I have one of these, a Nintendo Switch, that I can play Super Mario 64 on through the Nintendo Switch Online membership expansion pack thingamajig that I pay for so my mom can play Donkey Kong 64, a game that is not on the service. I put off playing like this for a while for a couple of reasons. One, I got the game, I got the console, I got the nostalgia. Why wouldn't I play on this? I'm also one of those freaks that likes the Nintendo 64 controller. This Z button's really nice. This controller feels a lot better than people give it credit for. But I think playing on the Switch will be better. For one, I prefer playing games handheld compared to playing them on a TV. I just have for a while now. And two, through this service, through this way of playing the game, I can use save states. For the unaware, a save state is usually a thing in emulators. It lets you save a spot in the game, and you can just reload it. So for example, that snowman that I kept getting blown off of, instead of getting blown off and having to take that 3-minute hike back up the thing, I can instead just reload right before it, try it again. I've put this method off for a while because it kind of feels like cheating, but I don't know. If meeting me at the game halfway has not been working, then maybe the game meeting me halfway will. I think it's worth a shot. Also, the footage you're gonna see is still gonna be from the Nintendo 64 one because I think games on here look bad. Nintendo 64 games on here look bad. Something with the textures. I was gonna go into this whole rant, but I realized I'm being very pedantic. Most people won't care. I will. So you're gonna see gameplay from the original, but I'm playing it on this. I played it on this. I'm playing it on this. So on this playthrough, things start off relatively the same. The chain chomp, the slide, the fortress, etc. When I get access to the basement, I grab those easy stars and then I run back up. Like I said, for the most part, I'm not gonna play these levels. Super Mario 64 gives me the flexibility to avoid the stars I don't enjoy after all, so I'm saying adios to the basement. And you know what? This is kind of working for me. I'm doing things that I've never done before. For example, the 100 coin mission. It's a star that all the levels share, which requires the player getting 100 coins. And I never did them because I thought they'd be tedious, but I actually kind of find them satisfying to collect and earn. It also helps that these are the only stars that don't kick Mario out of the level when collected, so they're kind of nice to get. I end up getting 30 stars from the first floor alone, getting most of the stars from the levels that I can get, and I grab all the secret stars I can get. and I only take 11 stars from the basement.
But I've exhausted most of the stars that I can get from the first floor, which leaves the upper floor. I know I said earlier I didn't care for Snowman's Land, but outside of the annoying snowman, it's actually a pretty decent level. Lots of fun things to do. It's even got this tiny igloo that Mario can crawl into, which leads into this fun ice maze. And the giant snowman is kind of cool. Wet Dry World ain't too shabby either. I can't believe I called this level boring.
It's got a lot of fun platforming challenges, and these dudes that just fling Mario around, he's having fun, I swear. Not to mention the secret town that's located. I guess that's not a secret, but there's a town in this level that's like tucked away. Did people used to live here? It looks like a ghost town.
I still have to get a few stars from levels that I'd rather not play because I'm short of the 70 needed and I've exhausted everything that I want, but they weren't that bad. Like in Tall Mountain, there's this one that the player can cheese to get. They're supposed to go down this slide in order to reach the spot, but the player can pull off this trick that lets them skip all of that. Even Rainbow Ride has a few stars that aren't the worst things in the world to get because Mario can like just launch himself off the magic carpet at the start. So, yeah.
25 stars from the upper floors makes the grand total of 20, and I'm now ready to take on the last Bowser stage. Okay, I know in the corner right there it doesn't say 70, and I'm pulling off a sneaky little trick to get to the top of the stairs, but I promise I got 70. Here's like my actual run. So I did it. I promise I did it. The last Bowser stage is a great challenge, honestly, really testing the player's skills. And I'm having a lot of fun playing this level. I'm having fun playing Super Mario 64. Still don't care for that last Bowser fight, but with the power of save states, I eventually do it. I finally beat in Super Mario 64. I've seen it through to the end. I have finished Super Mario 64. I still don't like playing it. Also, I hope you enjoy my new guest, this bird. I didn't play the levels I didn't like, and that did mitigate things a little bit, but this is still a game where I don't like controlling the main character. That's going to be a problem no matter what I do. And, you know, I had fun moments, but a lot of the time it felt like I was on like autopilot, kind of, or going through the motions. More comparable to going grocery shopping rather than playing around in a video game, so that's a shame. So even though I don't like playing Super Mario 64, I do like Super Mario 64, and I know that's weird, but I don't like playing it, but I really like playing around in it. Super Mario 64 is a game that's filled with just so much wonder and things to inspire creativity. It's pulling a lot of the weight for me. Like eventually the lobby has these beams of lights radiating from the ceiling, naturally inviting me to look up to see where they're coming from, only to whisk me away into flight around like this tower in the sky. I wonder if that water level from earlier is located in one of these towers. And the clouds that I was looking at then, and these clouds that are below me are in fact the same clouds. That's fun to think about. Hazy Maze Cave doesn't have a painting, but instead this weird metal puddle and this weird pipe room. And inside Hazy Maze Cave, there's another metal puddle that leads to a tunnel with these like cool crystals. This is how Mario unlocks the metal camp, the power up that makes Mario heavy so he sinks in water, and invincible so enemies can't hurt him, but it makes him look cool. I think he looks cool. There's a light at the end of the there's a light at the end of the tunnel in this sublevel, and going through it has Mario being sped out from the waterfall that leads into the moat in front of the castle. That's amazing. How'd I get here? There's also the door down in the moat. How do I get to it? Well, if I explore the castle basement, there's this odd room with like a pretty simple puzzle that drains the moat. It's a shortcut to a place I don't like. The castle is filled with a lot of these little rooms that make the castle a lot of fun itself to explore. I'm always finding new things to look at with this game. Like I've never taken the time to look up at most of the ceilings or talk to the toads around the castle or read most of these random signs filled with words I've never seen. This one's a message from Peach, and this one's pretty funny because all Mario does in this game pretty much is run. The room that leads to Snowman's Land is really interesting. It's got this big mirror that shows how the key to the cameraman moves around Mario. The room for Tiny Huge Island is cool with the forced perspective change. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. I have an art degree. I should probably know. And once again, Wet Dry World, that town. What is that? This clock, these stairs, this fountain, these pillars, these flower gardens that warp Mario around. I love how Mario looks in this game, this chunky looking dude. Charles Martinet also makes his not technical debut here, but pretty much his debut here. And I love how he makes Mario sound. When Mario says,
"Thank you so much for playing my game."
I feel that in my soul. Thank you, Mario, for taking me on this adventure. This beautiful creature in Hazy Maze Caves is always a highlight for me. Love seeing them. Also, these weird spider dudes. and this weird dude, and this weird dude, and this weird dude. I know he's just a bunch of circles and a mustache, but I think King Bob-omb is cool. And I love the pink Bob-ombs. They're just friendly pink circles. But like, why is the basement slightly flooded? Why does this castle have all these like weird art exhibit rooms? Why is this place constructed like this? When I play Super Mario 64, I like thinking about these things. I like imagining why this place is like that. And that's what I get when I play Super Mario 64. This whole time, I've been trying to learn to love Super Mario 64 for its controls, because that's what I've heard praised. But all this time, instead, I should have been trying to love Super Mario 64 in spite of its controls, to admire these environments and bask in the ambiance of the unique world being presented before my eyes. And even though I don't particularly like a lot of the levels, I like a lot of the ideas going into them. Come to think of it, I don't think I ever liked Super Mario 64 to begin with because of what Mario could do. I liked Super Mario 64 because of how captivating of an experience it was. Obviously, the gameplay of a video game, the actual actions a player takes, are probably the most important part of a video game. But video games are so much more than the tangible actions inputted and executed by someone.
Video games are experiences, a whole thing to go through, and they are so much more than people tend to give them credit for.
Or even people that are enthusiasts of video games, I don't think give them the credit they deserve. But man, it's fantastic. It's wonderful to experience something and walk away with that experience and have that to be a part of you. I don't know. That's just a beautiful feeling. I don't know how to end the video other than that. I love it. I now love Super Mario 64, and I'm glad that I can finally say that again.